Central on a Friday, the best place you could open, the best place to start your Friday morning television. I am Benga Bora. We'll have quite a lot in store for you today. It's a very packed and bumper show, so sit back, relax, and let's take you on this ride.
That's right. I would say welcome to Breakfast Central on News Central. Well, it started off on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and here we are on a Friday, and that's why we say it's TGIF. Well, on the biggest, you could say, stories that's got to do with Nigeria, Lagos seems to be the center, and that's because the House of Assembly, unlike what took place in River State, is taking a different turn. Well, the drama and the suspense was well enough for you to ditch a sweet and well-scripted movie to watch what happened, especially at the Lagos State House of Assembly. It had to do with a lot of gun-wielding policemen, and not forgetting to the return of one that could be tagged as a Thanos, because he did get the Infinity Stones and it was ready to snap his finger at it, and bam, he was back on the stage, especially taking his seat, taking over his office, ensuring that no Avengers will be able to attack or indeed assemble. And he was able to indeed lead the plenary with maybe just 4 or 5 persons present. And we're talking about the all-important conversation that's been trending on X and every other platform, and News Central was there live to cover it. It's got to do with the return of Obasa. Now that will make a very good movie.
It sounds
of Obasa.
It does sound like a Nollywood movie. Like you rightly said, you couldn't have scripted this, but there are implications for the people of Lagos, the politics, and of course legal implications, because as we speak, Mr. Obasa claimed in a TV interview last night that the current speaker, legally speaking, Maren, reportedly resigned. We don't know what that situation is. She hasn't released any statement. She hasn't said anything about it. And if you resign, you come out to say, look, I've resigned. We also know the circumstances that led to Mr. Obasa's resignation. And of course, law enforcement was also involved yesterday. As we know, the police detail of the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mojisola Maren, was removed and reassigned to Obasa. So much to unpack, but we'll look at it in details during the course of the breakfast show. So you really don't want to miss that.
All right. Anyway, the videos you're seeing there happens to be the video from what happened from way back when the House of Assembly in Lagos State was besieged, as it were, by security operatives, otherwise reportedly mentioned as DSS. Well, a different story emerged yesterday, as we rightly said, and like Benga has also broken it down. But there are conversations upon conversations that's got to do with the fact that Obasa had told Nigerians who cared to listen that you cannot just remove him that way, and therefore he made his return. Now, he didn't just come back, he also had a lot of persons, I'm talking about a crowd, who followed him. And our reporters were there to ensure that they caught up with these, in quotes, supporters of Obasa, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, who came back to claim the throne. It's much more like a movie that you would actually watch. But like I said, this is highly scripted. It's reality TV. And it's got to do with the fact, like we said, the return of Obasa part 1 and 2. And this time, he didn't just come back. He came back with a lot of pomp, pageantry, swag. And like he said, he spoke. Hopefully we'll get that video.
Like atmosphere.
Yes, yes. And he spoke deeply about his return and so much more. Well, I'll wait for that video to come up on Wake Up Conversations. Let's also tell you that, Benga, there seems to be a different side to this story. But the different side is many have been asking, where are the House members? The other members of the House.
The majority of the House.
Where are they? Because initially we did see them take pictures with Miranda. They even stood up and said, listen, we stand with you, we stand for you. But when the drama started yesterday and it was unfolding, everybody was asking, where are they now?
So a cross-section of the members did speak to members of the press and said, look, we have our mandate given to us by our constituents, and we stand by the Honorable Mojisola Miranda. She's still our speaker, and we're not, and they were standing on the opposition. So we would wait and see. Like you said, the return of Obasa has part 1. We've seen part 2, and there's every likelihood that there's going to be part 3, 4, and so on. So we just wait and see how things clear up. Yes, absolutely. On the return of Obasa.
Okay. Well, let's move away from that, Binga. Let's also look at what our second conversation is. I think you have that ready, if I'm right.
Yes.
What's it basically?
Okay, we go to Anambra State, where native doctors and Ezenwines.
I couldn't hold it.
They're protesting alleged witch hunt by Soludo's administration. No, Joe, these are people's means of livelihood.
I'm sorry, man. I couldn't hold it.
And Ezenwines and native doctors, their lives matters. So let's take a listen, and then we'll come back and discuss.
I know. The traditional native doctors. I didn't when I got. Na government house na Kaineje. I own the traditional native doctors. Anambra State. Nigeria. Dibian Anambra State. I tell you in peace, I shall like I for governor. Kaimali Hemelon, I do an amateur. They might intimidate. I have no way. I can go. In their mind, for no more can ownership, so better when I dig or do what attack, the one you
Yeah, DBS and Ezenwines, native doctors and African traditional medicine practitioners, are Nigerian citizens. They have a right to express their grievances, and you saw them on that march to the governor's office to protest their means of livelihood. But some of you might be wondering, what's the meaning of all of this? What is the cause of the ruckus? Let me give you the gist. Some native doctors and traditional medical practitioners Indi, Dibia, and Ezenwines in Anambra State have protested against alleged selective justice by the state. They claim that the use of Agune Chamber security operatives was a witch hunt, anti-traditional faith, and a violation of their constitutionally backed fundamental rights to practice the religion of their choice. If you recall, a member of the Anambra State House of Assembly was murdered, it was kidnapped and murdered, and it was said that one of this Ezenwines was consulted. So I guess the person was apprehended, and they just made a blanket ban on, I guess they have the knowledge on...
Let me just add to that. Yes. Many might wonder why I was laughing. Well, the other aspect to this story, before what you just brought to the light, is this. One, the governor had said that if you are a native doctor... Now, let me just give you the crux of how this really started. Governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo decided to destroy all shrines because they found out that these shrines were also enhancing insecurity and so on. So he took a serious check and ensured that these shrines were destroyed. There were indeed footages of one of the most popular shrines, and they were destroyed. Now, not just being destroyed, you did have these native doctors who came out and said, why would you do that? I mean, this is who we are. The governor didn't stop there. You know what he did? He decided to arrest them. So this is why I was laughing. Now, while he arrested them, they got them and locked them up in prison. Now, they protested and said, you cannot lock us up. It doesn't make sense. I know his response. His response was, as governor of the state, and you claim to be a native doctor, now you're going to gain your freedom. All you need to do is disappear from prison.
Yes.
If you can disappear from prison, then you are free. So it was like, you see me and
you don't
see me again. And then I come back and then you see me. But guess what the native doctor said? They walked about and said, how is that possible? Oh, really? So you can't teleport? So that's the funny aspect of the story.
And just to follow up on what you said, Joe.
Yeah.
One of them, Igbo Kweze, a rival native doctor, known for promoting native practices on Facebook, had reportedly criticized Nwagu and Okocha for being easily captured by the security operatives. However, he was apprehended a day later. He's still in custody as we speak. He has not used his magic to disappear.
The truth is, I like what the governor has done. The governor has done something that everyone should actually also pay attention to. We've gotten to a level where if we need to tackle insecurity, if we need to tackle some things that are not acceptable in our society, then we must tackle it headlong. And this is one of it. You have people who have vested their interest, their trust on people who tell them that, listen, I'm going to ensure that I empower you. We're going to stop insecurity. We're also going to empower people. Now, while this may work...
But Joe, there's another side to the conversation.
Okay.
Because they are protesting look, we have our rights to practice our business and all of that. Should it be regulated? And at what point do you draw the line between, doing rituals that break the law and people just practicing their African traditional religion? Because if you recall, this is what a lot of our ancestors practiced before the advent of Christianity and Islam in Nigeria in those days. So they're trying to keep it original, but it's just that a few bad eggs have muddled the waters.
I get your point, and that's fair enough. But I think what the governor said and what he's done would indeed settle this entire rift,
I would also like to ask you, how do you address native doctors? Do you call them doctors, like medical doctors? Have you ever used the services of an Ezewine? I guess we'll talk after the program.
Let's leave this to Governor Soludo. He's chosen to handle it the best way. If you can't disappear from prison, then you are free. Go ahead and practice what you're practicing. But if you can't, then we need to talk about, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about one story that trended yesterday. It's got to do with Labour Party, obedient movement. Yes, the obedience got into a scuffle with other political party supporters. Now, a video did come up on social media, particularly on X. That video showed Mr. Peter Gregory Obi, who was lounging in a first class and relaxing while making some phone calls and stretching his feet a little. Now, while that video came up, many said, listen, is this not that presidential candidate who had told us that, I don't fly first class, I love to fly economy. I was hoping I could do his voice, but I don't fly first class, but I like to fly economy.
Yeah, that's it.
But then again, the video showed he was seen relaxing, like I said, lounging in a first class, and everyone said, wait, is this not that presidential candidate who says I don't fly? Anyway, Daniel Bwala did not hesitate, and he went on and took up that video himself and says, I don't fly business class, I fly economy, by the way. And that's the image there of the LP presidential candidate. Bigger, let's take a look at this.
Yes.
I've seen my wife in business class. They've seen her in first class. I'm in different class. And we're in the same plane. Because that's what suits her. We don't quarrel with it. It suits him and it doesn't conflict my interest. It doesn't make any difference. So the difference in that fare, I needed to feed people in my village. That's it. I'm not quarreling with it. And I've shown people that. I've seen, if you check all my local flights, is economy.
Okay.
As governor, as the chairman of bank, as everything, I fly economy class.
Wow. Wow.
Or when I travel abroad, it's business class.
For comfort.
No, it must be about 6-7 hours.
Yes.
I travel business class. If I travel with her, people will see it. She's in business class, I'm in economy.
Hey,
it
why?
doesn't. No, it doesn't. It suits her. We're not quarreling with it.
No, but why do you fly economy?
You know, I don't understand what the hula balu is all about. He's a private citizen. He's not holding any elective position as we speak. Mr. Brala should actually face policies of state and issues that concern Nigerians, because he's a public servant. He's an advisor to Mr. President on policy matters, and he shouldn't be getting into all of this. And he clearly clarified in that video that look, if it's, imagine Mr. Peter Obi, he just came back from Indonesia. Do you know how far Indonesia is? You want him to squeeze himself.
But I think that video, the interview he had with the Honest Bunch, that's like months back before this footage emerged. He had already said what he does, and I think this footage, that video justified why we get to see him here. But it's just a story that we had to bring up on Wake Up Conversations because it was trending. But there you have it. Some of the biggest conversations here as we wake up this morning. First off has to do with the Lagos State House of Assembly. The drama, we can't wait. We want to see what happens this morning. There are indeed reports that Right Honorable Mojisola Miranda has indeed tendered a resignation. It happened over the weekend when they did meet together, and Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa was also on seat. I wanted to say something?
I mean, the resignation story just started and originated from Mr. Mudashiru Obasa, who's a political rival of Miranda. So they're going for the same position. He's not happy that he was removed as Speaker. He wants to come back. So we just take that information at face value with a pinch of salt, like they say, until things clear up. So allegedly resigned, purportedly resigned, according to Mudashiru Obasa in an interview he granted to News Television.
Anyway, these are conversations that we've had, and we'd like you to feel free, go online and drop your comments. Let's know. By the way, we're going to have an extensive conversation on this particular story on the show today. This is Breakfast Central. We're welcoming you to today's show. Let's quickly bring to you what our top stories would look like, especially today on a Friday morning. But here are a few things that you can do today. Now, all you need to do today is simply be part of the program by tweeting us, in other words, Xing us. Yeah, you can try that. And feel free to be part of the program. Let us know what you think. We'll also look at a very important conversation today, Benga, and that conversation has got to do with cross-carpeting. We're talking about political parties and politicians have decided to abandon ship, leave their own political parties, and move to another political party, that same party that they criticized earlier.
And our distinguished guest on that conversation has actually cross-carpeted 3 times. So we would ask him why and what it means to have politics of ideology in Nigeria, and the reasons why he decided to jump ship again. So sit back, relax. We have a lot in store for you today. We'll bring you breakfast headlines shortly, but yeah. Welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aborowa. Begin by telling you that the outer Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, has stated that he has resumed his position as the Parliament's leader. Obasa stated this on Thursday after returning to the Assembly complex with police and state security service details for the first time since he was removed on January the 13th. The development followed the withdrawal of the security aides of the Speaker, Mojisola Miranda. The Assembly has been embroiled in a leadership crisis since Obasa's removal as Speaker and the subsequent election of Miranda. Still on Lagos House of Assembly drama, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Moshood Jima, has confirmed that the security detail attached to the Speaker of the State House of Assembly has indeed been withdrawn, but has been returned to her. Was indeed returned, I beg your pardon, and has been returned to her. While speaking to journalists, the Commissioner also explained why the security detail was removed in the first place. CP Moshood Jima further stated why the ousted Speaker, Mudashiru Obasa, currently has security detail attached to him. Still on legislative matters, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has called for the live broadcast of sessions during a probe that will look into her conduct when she fell out with Senate President Godswill Akpabio over seating arrangements at the Senate. The Kogi Central lawmaker, in a post across social media platforms on Thursday, declared that Nigerians have a right to witness the process. She was referred to the Senate's Ethics and Disciplinary Committee following a face-off with Senate President Godswill Akpabio over a seating arrangement. Apoti Dragan said she was ready to face the panel but would not allow the matter to be handled behind closed doors. The PDP lawmaker said she refrained from speaking publicly on the issue and other developments in the Senate, but had now decided to break her silence. Now, away from that, 2 police officers attached to the Plateau State Police Command have paid the supreme prize following a failed kidnap attempt in the state. News Central's correspondent Chizoba Anyongwe reports that the Plateau State Police Public Relations Officer Alfred Alabo said the incident occurred in Little Wayfield area of Jos after a tip-off. Alabo added that while 4 suspects have been arrested in connection with the incident, efforts are ongoing in ensuring that the rifle carted away by the assailing kidnapped suspects are recovered. That's all. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. To stay with us, Breakfast Central will continue shortly. I am Benga Aporoa. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. There's been a cry out following the limited options available to Nigeria's opposition leaders and political parties ahead of the 2027 general elections. They're political parties, but they are starting to lack the power and strength to be called major oppositions. This is seen in internal wrangles and scuffles such as the PDP BLT meeting or the sudden exit and cross-carpeting of its loyal members, like in the case of the Labour Party.
While not forgetting the fight over who has the original logo or is the authentic member of the NNPP and who is willing to starve off his political ambition to join the ruling party. At the National Assembly, we've seen mass defection, leaving other party faithful wishing upon a star, hoping things can indeed get better. Well, joining us to look at the political landscape in Nigeria as a business mogul and politician, and ally to Peter Obi during the 2023 presidential election, and one who actually is from the Labour Party back then, but now pitches his political tent with the APC. We do have Mr. Valentine Ozigbo who joins us this morning. Thank you so much for being here on Breakfast Central.
Thank you so much.
Well, let's start at first. I mean, your defection has indeed given rise to a lot of questions because you've left the Labour Party. You also have Kenneth Okonkwo has equally left the Labour Party, although he hasn't pitched his tent yet, as it were, with any political party that we are aware of. And everyone is asking, is the Labour Party really going to survive before 2027? And permit me to ask, why did you take that leap of faith? Why did you leave?
Thank you so much for having me. Well, like I've spoken, written on my social media handles, engaged with the public on, spaces and all that. There are a combination of factors that led me into taking that decision. But in taking that decision, I'm always very carefully guided. My allegiance, as always, will be to God first, then the Nigerian people, and particularly Anambra people, before myself. This is how I think through things. And there are a combination of what I call pull and push factors. There are things that would typically push you out of where you are, and there are things that will pull you into where you're going to. One of those issues around the push factors is what I consider as a lack of internal democracy, the flawed processes that I've seen and I've witnessed in Labour Party, which obviously led to some of the consequences that we're all describing here today. On one hand, you could see that we've done abysmally poor while there in Labour Party in almost all the elections, whether it's the governorship or it's local government elections. And you would wonder, a party that had such a huge momentum, what has happened? Part of it also is about the internal wranglings, the litigations, the national convention that was done in Anambra State wasn't, I can say to you, a lot of the stakeholders were not carried along. What went through there is not something I personally can be proud of. And then when we had Congress in Anambra, similar things. So the consequence was somebody like me started to see no future in Labour Party. And it gets to a point you need to ask yourself certain questions. Where do we go from here? And generally, opposition politics, I'm not impressed by what I see leaders do. I see a lot of selfishness. I see a lot of greed. There's no, let's come together and rebuild. So even the obedient group that I was a key member of, a key leader in, you can see we're totally divergent views, interest when it comes to Labour Party and obedience. So that lack of congruence has led to a lot of disastrous consequences. And this is why even going into 2025 or 2027 election, I don't see any future with the Labour Party. And then the question became, if not Labour Party, where else? And this is where this consideration about God and people and then myself would come in. Anambra is very important and dear to my heart. And a lot of Anambra people are upset with the way it's being governed today. There's hardly any institutions that are comfortable with the way Anambra is being governed, whether it's the church, the market leaders, the people on the streets, the students, the women, the Igwes, the town unions. I can hardly find any single group that is comfortable with the way Anambra is being governed. And so, if Anambra deserves a better leadership, and they see that leadership in me, question here became, which party am I best suited with to run this election and to bring this great dividends of democracy that we want to see happen as quickly as possible? And there are not many options. PDP, I used to be in PDP as well, and there were similar kind of things we talk about now. So you find that 2025, it's not really just going to be about parties, it's actually going to be about candidates. Because to even succeed in the election, you need to even bring all the parties together as much as you can. And a number of people see me as a unifier, as that candidate that can pull together. So going to election in 2025, I intend obviously to rally around people from the APC, the Labour Party, the PDP, the YPP, and what have you, even some part of ABGA. And so it's going to be all hands on deck, getting things done. Because I was the last candidate of PDP, because I'm the most visible aspirant in the Labour Party, because I'm also a good friend of the people in ABGA that are disgruntled with the current governor, and because I also have a couple of other parties that are coming together, it was necessary that I not just run for this election, but become that unitary candidate. And which party, therefore, among all of this, presents a better platform? APC has strong leadership, has firm leadership, and there may be things in APC that we may not be totally proud of. But I believe the better thing to do is to go into APC and start the renaissance within. See what value we can add there, because deferring until some opposition come together in the future that we don't know when that is going to happen means we're going to defer the redemption process for a number of people. And so a combination of these reasons why I took that decision, and they're all well, carefully guided and informed, and prayerfully also arrived at.
Now, Mr. Ozigbo, you've given the reasons why you've defected, and it's very close to your heart. You've explained why. But your critics, some of your critics will say it's principle-less politics. You moved from PDP to the Labour Party and now APC. And I'm sure you've seen the reaction, especially from the Labour Party base. Your association with Peter Obi and Labour Party garnered you quite a significant support. How do you plan, now that you've made this decision, to retain this support base after joining the APC? especially considering the party's varying reception in the southeastern part of Nigeria. Do you think you'll be able to, assuage the fears of those, your personal supporters that started supporting your person as a result of your association in Labour Party? Would you be able to convince them to support you in your present capacity in APC in Anambra State ahead of the governorship elections?
Certainly. Let me say this. When I took that decision, I saw three categories of people. There are some who instantly understood why and applauded me and said to me, Val, this is the best decision you've ever taken in your life. Some were in bewilderment. They were not even sure the basis for this decision and they were confused. And some were against because guess what? They didn't have enough information. And since I started engaging, reaching out to them, talking to the media, I can tell you a whole lot. I've understood it and come back. Because the real question here became, Val, if you must run for this election and win, then it has to be APC. If the other alternative, you don't run at all. And so when I posed the question to some of my critics, and I said to them, if it wasn't Labour Party, which other party? And what do you advise? I shouldn't run at all? They said, no, we need you there. Okay, if you need me there, then the same Valentine Ozigbo you have always known and loved and supported, it's the same Valentine Ozigbo in APC. And I'm not going to change who I am. In fact, I'm going to enhance my ability and capacity to add more value to society. And talking about principle-less, again, is something I've always informed people. Principles and value is about actually the intangibles. It's not about the human being. And like people say, if, for instance, you're somebody who loves due process, who was emphasizing, right order of things, that's your ideology, that's your principle. If you go into an environment that you would expect that value to reside, then you're comfortable if that happens. But if that same institution ceases to demonstrate that capacity, that value, and then you leave, you haven't become disloyal. You're still loyal to your core principle because the institution has become something you never envisaged. I started seeing, Labour Party as actually worse than the parties we've been criticizing. And so it became clear to me that if I'm looking for an angelic party in this country to run for an election, ideally that's what I want to go to. But they don't exist. So what do you do in this circumstance? If all of them are actually having issues, you look at first the lesser evil and where you can actually go in and begin the rebuilding process. I prefer not to waste more time. I want to go in and add my own value. And trust me, APC will be glad with the values I'm going to add. I have said, and Nigerian people, and those who are criticizing today, when they see the value, when they see how I would govern Anambra State, when they see the transparency I'm going to bring to bear, when they see the real change, transformational change, and our Anambra child begins to manifest, trust me, they'll come back to chew their words and say, we're sorry, we judged you wrongly. And already some have come back to say to me, because really, if this decision was about just me, I can understand that. But if we're taking the right interest of the people, then trust me, you come along. If not now, very shortly later.
All right. Let's talk about the seemingly death of opposition parties, because everyone seems to be jumping ship, moving to the APC. We've seen some who have defected, and it's rising, it's bringing up questions such as, what is the hope for opposition parties? Do we still have opposition parties in Nigeria? I'd like to take your thoughts on that.
First is, I actually would love for us to have very strong, formidable opposition. I would love that, because that's really what democracy should be about. When the incumbent is in power, there has to be a strong voice that can put them in check and hold them accountable. And I also don't think that's just enough. I also want to see a country where Nigerians are holding leadership accountable, meaning that even you talking to me, Benga, or any other person, there should be some level of opposition in you, where you're critiquing and interrogating the actions of government and not being docile, whatever happens. That's what I would like to see, because that keeps the vibrancy going. However, as of today, what I'm witnessing, what I'm seeing is not impressive at all. When I hear about, for instance, those who are talking about 2027, and you see some parallel lines that have been created that will never meet. You see some, if you look at, for instance, the northern part of Nigeria, you see where there's a group of people meeting, another group of people meeting, and their interests are totally divergent. None of them is coming, okay, let's come together and build an opposition and shy away from our own personal interests. No, they all bring their interests foremost, and from day one, you see them failing. So I don't see any opposition, even in the offing. And that's not right. I want to be able to see a better synergy among political class, where they are dropping a bit of their selfish interest and elevating the common good. If that happens and allow proper process to emerge, then you're going to have a better position. While that is happening, while it's being planned in the future, I don't know when that will happen, let's also go inside and see how we can improve on what we have today. APC is in power. They're the dominant power, party in power. And guess what? Let's work harder to see that we can start the rebuilding process. So even as APC becomes that dominant power, they continue to give better dividends of democracy. That's my own worldview.
Now, Mr. Ozigbo, let's zoom into Anambra State. And talking about opposition, you are in the opposition in Anambra State. You've decided to throw your heart into the gubernatorial elections with the APC. What's your vision for Anambra State, and do you think you have what it takes to wrestle power and to win the incumbent governor, Chukwuma Soludo, at the polls?
Thank you so much, Benga. Let me say this to you. In 2021, both of us ran for this election. I was then under PDP for me, and if not the controversial circumstance of that election, I should have been in power today. But I came second. And guess what? I moved on. I didn't go to the tribunal. I didn't challenge him. I called him the same day to say congratulations, and I moved on. And I let him be for 2 years. And then I saw the unfortunate outcomes we were witnessing, the highest level of insecurity, the type of akodo politics where people are being treated in inhuman way just because of pursuit of internal generated revenue, where even if you just want to conduct a simple town union election, you have to be a member of his own political party, and in that process actually exacerbating insecurity in Anambra State. And where there is hardly anything working in Anambra, we see some roads being done with opaqueness, with lack of transparency, where we're not seeing precisely, because I was happy to see Mr. President say that 3 times amount of allocation going to states. So they do some fiscal projects and a lot of other things happen underneath. And Anambra people started to grow wary about the leadership. What's my vision? I want an Anambra that will be more prosperous, more livable, Anambra that indeed, we call it Anambra Chawapo, which let Anambra blossom. This is taken from our historical, our cultural, our past, basically looking at the things that we hold there. What are those things, our identity? How come in the time past, Nnamdi Azikiwe days, we had some glorious days, and even the entire Southeast was being considered the fastest growing in the zone, in the world? How come we have had legends like Chino Achebe and Co? How do we take from that past to get to us, play to our strength, and create what I call a self-regenerative future, where everybody will feel included? And so we adopted 3 approaches to governance that will help us to revamp and transform Anambra State. It's meant to be homegrown. It's not importing some Africa, Dubai, Taiwan that never exists. We think that Anambra is unique in itself. We are especially blessed we are the Jews, the real habitat where we can inculcate and start new things afresh, and where everybody will feel belong. Whether you are a Christian, that I am, or even a Mennonite, of course, doing things better and in a more professional manner. So we have first approach, which is the sector approach. How do we identify sectors that are important to us? What do we need to do in each of those sectors? Whether it's in security, how do we make sure security is curbed? Because that is the beginning of anything. The primary role of government is security and welfare for people. And prioritizing that is so key, particularly when you know our people are well-to-do and we can leverage our resources to revamp our society. So when we deal with security, we deal with what I call human capital development indices, from education to healthcare to poverty eradication, and then also focusing on infrastructure, whether it's road, power, and technology, and then even taking it further to connecting the rails and also connecting the port system, so that our people can be able to become more competitive in business. Well, our business people, how do we emphasize the need for us to develop what I call centers of excellence? And that takes me to the cluster approach, where we're prioritizing a place like Onitsha. Onitsha has to be a commercial center of excellence. Anewe has to be an industrial center of excellence. Oka has to be a true capital city. Omambala is for processing. And we also can be a tech hub for Africa. What can we do to generate and create a Mark Zuckerberg? How can we leverage the potency, the DNA of our youth to change our future? And moving on that to also what I call the partnership approach. When we say that we're home to the highest number of billionaires, how do we get our money to work? How come our people are living on the shore to go to Asaba, and Newi to go to Aba, and all of those? So why would that happen? Why wouldn't it be a reverse? When we deal with these issues, we have a true homegrown solution that Anambra people can be proud of.
All right. Anyway, we've talked about Anambra and all that. I want us to focus on the core aspect, which is political parties and most importantly, politicians. Usually many have said that in politics there's no permanent friend, permanent enemy. The only thing you have is permanent interest. Would you say that the APC, with how the economy currently is, I mean, you're vast, you're a businessman, and you do have experience when it comes to dealing with economic challenges. Would you say that the APC was the right choice for you? Looking at the fact that a lot of Nigerians are indeed complaining about the current hardship, the free fall of the naira, the valuation, if you put it that way, the increase in fuel price as a result of some of the challenges. Even the people in Anambra are complaining of how tough living currently is. So you joining the APC, would you say that the APC is getting it right, in all honesty? Or is it just as a measure of ensuring that you just get the ticket?
Thank you so much. See, what I've always said is to everybody who care to listen, there are two things I want to take away from your question. First is interest. Let our interest always be enlightened self-interest, not selfish interest. Enlightened self-interest is common good, knowing that my right may end where your own right begins. How do we put our people first before yourself? Common good. And so politicians who just go for, what they call permanent interest, let it be permanent, enlightened interest. What kind of interest is important? Secondly, I have to say this to you, that these issues about governance, we should also look inwards to be able to hold ourselves accountable, not just who to blame. Because if we truly desire change, there are things we can do to contribute to that change. There are things also this government may be doing, obviously, that is creating and separating some of the complaints we're having, and particularly when the measures are taken abruptly and not over time in a much more measured manner. And so, in those regards, what are we going to do? Complain and hit your head in the wall, or join forces with government, make your own contribution, and see how things improve? And there are areas the government has done well. And I was talking in another station, I mentioned the areas also I would like to see the government to do even more. I think the fundamental of us getting things right in Nigeria will be around rule of law, where there are consequences for action, where we also manage our electoral process. And that way, when Nigerian people also hold leadership accountable, these are things I want to see in Nigeria, because that's actually when we can catch up with the rest of the world. And in this regard, whenever I have an opportunity to see Mr. President, those will be my focal area of recommendation. How do we ensure that we can actually vote for people from the comfort of their home? How do we ensure that we can imagine in my own election in 2021, 34,000 policemen were deployed to Anambra State. I was asking for what reason? Why would 34,000? Run the numbers. So you see the amount of waste in just electoral process. When we can simply create a solution leveraging blockchain technology and people can be in the comfort of their home and vote. I'd like to see that happen, because with a unique identifier, you make sure nobody votes twice and you can track these things. So having that will make sure that the right things are done consistently. Because Mr. President may do good today and leave, somebody else may go in there, who may not be the choice, and things go awry. Now, moving away from that, even if we can't achieve electronic voting, can we at least ensure that votes are transmitted even from the polling units? And how do we ensure the rule of law? When, for instance, there are prison breaks, who do we hold accountable? When there are insecurity in some areas, who do we hold accountable? When there are theft in government, who do we hold accountable? Well, I want to see more consequences in government. So if we have that environment, the intangible we created, and trust me, we'll build institutions that will outlive all of us. So I have a couple of those areas I want to recommend to government to do more in, while they're also doing well in some other areas. And that's why I say to everybody, my going into APC is to add value to Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Valentine, sorry to butt in because of our time. So if it come 2027, can we rightly say that you would not be supporting Peter Obi in 2027?
How do we know what's going to happen in 2027? How do we know if Peter Obi is going to run? How do we know if President Tinubu would have done a fantastic job in the Southeast that we never may fully support? Let me say this clearly. Today, I'm a member of APC. I'm a party loyalist. And I will do everything possible, first to make sure we earn the confidence of my people. So that way, it won't be my support. What does that amount? If I vote for President Tinubu and Anambra people vote against, I wouldn't have achieved anything. But I want to be able to say we have done well in this regard. And so I have a couple of things I would like to do very fast. Let it be win-win for Anambra people. Because a lot of time people think this policy is about individuals. It's not about Valentine or Peter. It's about Anambra people. If Anambra people begin to witness tremendous transformation, which by the grace of God I'm going to achieve, trust me, they will even love for the continuity to happen. But if for whatever reason we fail to deliver, I can be on one trajectory, Anambra people be on another trajectory. So what I want to do here is inspire hope, confidence, bring competence to the table, bring value to the table for all the stakeholders, particularly from the party that I represent.
Now, given the luxury of hindsight, Mr. Ozigbo, this is your second outing. What lessons did you learn from the failure of the first outing? You came a close second to the incumbent governor. And also the politics of godfatherism and political structures in Nigeria. You were closely associated with Peter Obi. It helped to grow your support base. Do you believe a candidate can win elections in Nigeria without godfathers and strong political structures? Did a lack of these hurt your chances the last time you contested under the banner of the People's Democratic Party?
As a matter of fact, let me make this point. The outcome of 2021 wasn't a failure in my own definition. I ran for an election, beat 14 other aspirants in PDP, came first in that election, despite the fact it was my first.
But the nature of Nigerian politics is winner takes it all. You didn't get into government.
I understand that. But guess what? We've built such an incredible brand today. And that's why my movement into APC has attracted a lot of attention. If it was inconsequential, we're not going to be discussing today. But let me also say this to you. I also don't believe in godfatherism. I went into politics without any godfather. I became PDP candidate without any godfather. As a matter of fact, Peter B did not contribute a penny to me becoming a candidate of PDP. I want that to be clear. But because he was my leader, I consider him
Leader,
a big
not
brother,
godfather.
somebody who has also done this. So I went to him, and he showed leadership, supported me in my campaign, and I'm grateful for that. So godfatherism is about sinister moves by some people when they get into government. And not one day did I ever discuss what I'm going to pay Peter Obi, what office I'm going to give him if I became governor. So I am my own person, and that's why I'm able to also take this decision. I am loyal when I need to be. I am supportive when I need to be, but also I'm independent when I need to be. I want Anambra to be first in anything that I do, and not about individuals. And so, in fact, this is my consideration. Anything I would do as governor of Anambra State, first, must satisfy God. Second, Anambra people. Then, before we talk about myself or any other person. So, if I follow this trajectory, I will always get it right. I eschew, I condemn godfatherism to the fullest. And when people ask me, who is your godfather? My simple answer is God is my father.
Well, Mr. Valentine, I mean, we're out of time, but I just want one last question, and if you can answer it in 30 seconds. What is the fate of the Labour Party now, and of course the PDP from where you've actually come from? Because you've moved from the PDP to the Labour Party, and now you're with the APC. Would you say that these other political parties are done and gone?
For now, I don't see a great future for these parties, but they have their own fate. They can rebuild the parties if they start to do the right things. But for anybody who is looking to run for an election in 2025 or even in 2027, if they don't rebuild this process very quickly, I'm sorry, I don't see any future there. But I want a Nigeria where there are credible opposition. And so whatever they can do to come together, good luck. But for now, I'm happy to be a member of this great family of APC.
But Mr. Valentine Ozigbo, finally, final, in 30 seconds before we go, just to respond to that. If people are in the opposition, let's assume right thinking and people that have the interest of the country at heart, and everybody says, you know, the opposition they have internal wranglings and all of that. If everybody decamps, then we wouldn't have a viable democracy. We wouldn't have an opposition to take, I mean, if everybody takes your cue and your reasons. So how do we build a nation without a viable opposition if everybody jumps ship?
I always say this, there are two options for us. You can actually rebuild a party in power to add value, because the whole essence of party is not about the party, it's about the people. How do we make sure good people are in leadership so that people can rejoice? Proverbs 29:2. Because until we achieve this, you're wasting your time. So opposition is not for opposition's sake. So let's rebuild the party we have. On the other hand, there are leaders who have been there before us. Let them be more selfless. That way, they can actually curate a proper opposition politics. And I'd like to see where Nigeria evolves to politics of ideology. Today, we don't have it. For now, party is just a vehicle you are sent to power with. I want to get to a point where we are involving in creating politics of ideology. So that way, the real politics will begin in Nigeria. For now, it is about what value you're adding to your people. And I'm happy to say to the Anambra, they should watch and see what Valentine will become as next governor of Anambra State.
Well, as we let you go, Mr. Ozigbo, I just need a clear answer, yes or no. Do you see Peter Obi leaving the Labour Party as well?
I actually believe Peter Obi will eventually leave. And whether it's going to come to APC or any other party, I don't know. But I'd love to welcome you to APC.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for joining us. It's been a very interesting conversation. Do have for yourself a great day.
Thank you.
Anyway, wonderful conversation. Well, just in case you missed it, don't forget it would be up on our social media space, so you could go ahead and catch that interview looking at the opposition parties. We've had a very, very interesting 1 hour so far, so good. But let's bring to you what's coming up next in the second hour here on Breakfast Central. Coming up next, Obasa supporters jubilate upon his return to the State Assembly.
We'll also bring you the newspaper front pages, and remember, you're free to call in and make your contributions. And of course, the top stories of this week. Do stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Well, taking it back there in the news, way back to what happened in Africa. But let's come back home to Nigeria, where the front page is already fresh as ever. And you can guess what stories would definitely make the headlines.
And it's obvious, like you said, Joe, it's the return of Obasa, Volume 2. Yes, I mean, it's unfolding drama. If any newspaper doesn't carry that, then the editor of something has to, they have to have a
Has to be fired, eh?
like you rightly said.
I didn't say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
We start off with the Daily Trust, and like we predicted, Lagos Assembly crisis, Obasa Miranda claims speakership. They said like River State, like Lagos. I mean, is history repeating itself? And the writer there says, ousted leader resumes presides over plenary with 4 members. 36 legislators insist remove speaker gone. Unpassed betrayal of democracy, says Atiku. That's the front page of the Daily Trust. We also have, after 21 months, Buhari relocates from Daura to Kaduna. We have that there. And Sultan urges traders to reduce food prices ahead of Ramadan. I wonder if they will listen to him. And I hope the reduction would also apply to non-Muslim faithfuls if they do listen to the Sultan of Sokoto.
Anyway, it's a tough one. Lagos Assembly crisis of Obasa Miranda claim. I mean, Atiku there saying the unpassed is a betrayal to democracy, kind of like has a little fabric of truth embedded into that statement.
It is, absolutely.
And that little fabric, no matter how small it is, it indeed governs the entire decision-making and policies that would indeed affect the country going forward. And let's break it down. By the way, let's also tell our viewers that you can call in right now. We will be having the papers for a very short period of time because we're going to go deeper into this Obasa Miranda conversation. You can call in, tell us what you think, first of all, and let's see if we can get the number on the screen for you to be part of this conversation. So dial in. We'd like to get feelers and get to know what you think about it. But let's quickly also mention, Benga, we're trying to talk about the article's point as well.
Yes, that's a betrayal of democracy. Joe, at the end of the day, you wonder what's in it for ordinary Lagosians. These guys aren't there on their own volition. They contested elections. Their constituents put them there to follow up on policies that will make their lives better. In the last few months, what we've seen is interest. No one is fighting for the ordinary Lagosians. There are things that have to be done. The other time they had plenary, I recall the Honorable Desmond Elliott did mention the street lights issues and said, you know, the government should expedite. But they had not talked about issues of governance in the last few months. Since that peaceful plenary, it's been one drama or the other. It's either the DSS is there for protecting them, or one drama, or somebody is trying to resume when it's not supposed to resume. And Lagosians are excited about this return of Obasa 1 or 2. They think it's Nollywood movies and series, but these things do have real life consequences. When will they sit back and do what the people have voted them to do? Nobody cares about sort your issues, do it legally, and please let the wheels of government continue to move on, because there are real life consequences for this lack of parliamentary business.
I agree with you. I agree with you. We're starting to see a tussle that could actually snowball to become one which would be permanent, especially in the annals of Nigeria's democracy and politics. But bear in mind that just as you have in River State, you do have a certain Oko Jumbo. And then on the other side, you also have a certain Martins Amawule, who have claimed speakership of the River State House of Assembly. Can you see where we're going? It's like a replica. You're now having something similar in another state, which is Lagos State. That's not all. What state is going to be next? That's the question, because what you're doing is there seems to be a proof of existence that, listen, even in a democracy, these things can actually play out. You could have two persons fight, and you know what? Nothing is going to happen. Well, many have called on the president to step in, and like we've heard and read in different papers, he stepped in maybe behind closed doors. That's been alleged, that he stepped in behind closed doors. We do not know. Maybe a video should suffice at this point where he's going to talk to them. But let's go to another paper very quickly. Let's move on to Daily Times and see what the Daily Times says. Of course, it's that movie again. Controversy trails Obasa's dramatic return as Lagos Assembly Speaker. Majority lawmakers back Miranda, regardless of the alleged statements that's been reported that she had indeed decided to step down. How true is that? Well, we do not know, but that's the story there on the front page of the Daily Times. At the top there, it says federal government to review electricity tariff for band A, B, C customers. Yesterday, there was a story flying around that people in band A, residents in band A, or homes in band A would have a review, an upward review.
They should take a cue from the petroleum industry. It's never a downward review. It's always upwards. Nigerians they've had it. And I don't think they can take any more upward review of Band A. There's also the issue of, matching service delivery with the amounts they're paying. So many people in Band A are not even getting regular electricity. So what's the point at the end of the day?
Yeah, we did see an estate where the residents had to walk into the office and they staged a serious protest that you cannot be collecting this amount of money monthly.
And not giving us,
and we don't have
rightly
power.
so. And we have a consumers protection agency which doesn't even protect the rights of Nigeria.
I think we need to call them out this morning.
Yes, we need to bring them to the studio next week, and we'll work on that.
We need to.
Also on the Daily Times, I find this very interesting, and many Nigerians are wondering, how do you expect a soldier? These guys have they've sworn an oath to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria, a soldier's creed, and they've been earning 1,500 naira feeding allowance per day. I mean, Joe Walker, 1,500 buy you apart from beans, pomo, and 1 or 2. It's now 3,000 naira.
I was going to look at this on the drawing board if I had time today. Just to look at that, the feeding allowance of students, feeding allowance of soldiers, feeding allowance of individuals at home. And it will shock you that 1,500 naira, we can even do the calculation here. How much is agege bread? To get agege bread that is, muscular,
Above 500.
Above 500. So they have the one of 600 now. That at least is what we used to get for 100 naira back then.
Wow.
600. So from your 1.5, you have 900
Okay.
left. You buy a wagon or beans because the soldiers need to eat. They
need
to
their
feed. They need to be
protein.
strong.
Yes.
They need their protein. So your beans of, have you seen beans of 200 naira? It's one spoon.
And we're talking
One tiny
about
spoon.
adults here.
Adults, yeah. So they're going to go for 600 naira beans.
No, they won't. 1,000. I mean, what can 600? 3 spoons?
I'm just saying,
What can
you know they will press it. You know,
Okay.
you press.
With the bread.
And when
Okay.
you press, you are left
it
with
gains weight?
Exactly.
It gyms.
Exactly. You're left with 300 naira.
Okay.
A boiled egg goes for 250. So they're left with 50 naira. They haven't gotten water yet. So 50
Or
naira might
minerals.
get them just no minerals. They can't take minerals. Or maybe 50 naira will get them a sachet of pure water, and they are good to go.
Lunch and dinner.
They will decide that.
Okay.
Or maybe they can do combo. You know, one thing I like about the soldiers, I like the way they are able to work together. So maybe someone would bring 1,000 naira, another one would bring 500.
Collabo.
Get some collabo. Bigger. Let's not go
And then
far.
Street keeps urging them to do more. But honestly, kudos to the Chief of Army Staff. Many will say, you know, this 3,000 naira is still inadequate for a soldier to feed per day. And when you juxtapose this, the sort of risk they take, I mean, this is a life-threatening job.
Yeah.
The amount of danger they go through, the danger they're exposed to on a
I
day-to-day
agree.
basis, so that we civilians can go about our
agree.
normal responsibilities. It's way too low.
It's way too
And
low.
then you compare it to politicians who sit down in the AC, air-conditioned chambers. They come to work
You get
once or twice a week.
you get
Allowances.
this and
It's
so on.
really not
You're
fair.
not protecting the territories. You're not doing any of that. So a lot of things need to be looked into. Let's look at the Guardian as we look forward to wrap up very soon. We do have our guest who's in the house. Obasanjo, 7 ex-leaders on the Guardian seek debt relief for African countries. The Guardian newspaper, that's what we're going to. Obasanjo, 7 ex-leaders seek debt relief for African countries. Air Force investigates as officer kills 1, injures 2 in Kaduna. War against fake drugs, how systemic inefficiency, complicity aid multi-trillion naira illicit trade. Chaos, confusion, trail claims to Lagos Assembly speakership. We have that as well. At Reps hearing, federal government rules out inheritance tax in reform bills. I like that. Federal government rules out inheritance tax. Mass wedding. Kebbi pays 54 million naira as bride price for 300 couples.
That's massive.
Take note, this is in Kebbi. He said 54 million. There's another state where he was budgeting billions. Okay? We don't want to go
But
there.
it's a private matter. What's the business of government with people getting
that's the
married?
thing, and
And
this-
we already have a large population.
It's understandable.
Okay.
It's understandable. But anyway, this is what we're going to stop on the front pages of the newspapers. So much to talk about, but like we said, it's Friday, it's abridged. We had to just look at some of them very quickly. We're also going to throw the phone lines for you in the next conversation because it's a deeper look. We're about to do an x-ray into this topic. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring to you our guest and definitely the story. Stay with us. Lagos State House of Assembly is embroiled in a deepening crisis. Former Speaker, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, was impeached. However, he has since challenged his impeachment in court, claiming the process of his removal was illegal, although he still denied that just yesterday. Well, in a surprising turn of events yesterday, Right Honorable Miranda's security details were withdrawn, and then later on it was indeed reinstated, while Obasa's was also reinstated. Obasa then stormed the Assembly complex, taking over and presiding over a sit-in with 4 members present.
Obasa also claimed that Miranda resigned as Speaker during a peace meeting held at the weekend at the Lagos House in Marina. However, it's worth noting that Miranda had previously denied rumors of her resignation. Joining us today to provide insights into the crisis in Lagos Assembly is journalist and public affairs analyst Bib Aruna, is also one who's very familiar with the workings of the Lagos State House of Assembly. Warm welcome to you, sir. And thanks for joining us this morning.
Morning.
Like Joe said, we thought we were done with the Return of Obasa episode. Every week there's a new development. Given that 36 out of 40 lawmakers voted to remove Obasa from office, does his current claim of being Speaker hold any legal or constitutional weight, or is simply an attempt to strong-arm himself back to power?
I think we should situate what is going on in the Lagos State Assembly to some solid context. It's not illegal or constitutional matter, even though it's all under the Constitution. It's a political matter, and a political crisis, and will be resolved politically. My brother,
we've been on this matter for a while now. Why hasn't it been resolved?
I knew the matter was not settled yet. I was on the program yesterday morning, and I told them, even before Obasa invaded the other assembly with the same people, that the matter has not been settled, and to type. Because I told you, I covered that house more than 7 years. What we saw yesterday was an aberration, or something that I never thought would happen in Lagos State. Lagos is the center of excellence. Lagos is the bedrock for democracy, and we are always proud that what is happening elsewhere in the country cannot happen here. When I saw it on my phone, the crowd, they were pulling up at the gate.
Carnival-like atmosphere.
Absolutely. And aided by security operatives, the police and civil defense. I was disturbed. People were calling me, and I was asking myself, I didn't answer them. I want to know what is really happening. And I saw the video of Lassa. They drove him into the complex, and he was answering questions. I felt bad. And I think Obasa won't have the guts to have been so brazen, to brazenly enter the assembly without some nod from Abuja. Nod from Abuja in the sense that maybe implicit, not explicit. It's a possibility that Obasa, that they did not stop him. That they felt that, well, there's a vacuum. Let me take my time and enter. Then another critical point is that, why was it that it was yesterday that the security men attached to the speaker, Miranda, the speaker, was removed. And why was it yesterday that the security men attached to Obasa were just like that? They restored those security men to him. So those are the things that we have to look at very well. But as I said, I was thinking that APC since APC is the dominant party in this state, they've been in a better position. They said it's a family affair, and I thought it would have been resolved in a family way. But so far, I'm disappointed. I don't think anybody should be happy with what happened yesterday in Lagos. They should not be happy. And I think the president himself, who is the symbol of our democracy, who swore to defend his democracy, is happy about it. He can't be happy about it.
There's lawmakers.
But we saw some people were happy about it. I mean, if we do have the footage, we did see people jubilating and walking with him. But you know what? Let's also, our reporter was able to catch up with Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, and she asked a few questions. Let's see what he had to say in response to that.
As you rightly said, I'm here. So as I'm here, it simply means the house is on.
Well, sir, on social media, we have it information flowing that you barged into this premises.
Confirm it now. If you add, you should.
We are trying to confirm from you. Can you tell us exactly?
So what are you implying? Are you saying that I broke it or I broke the door to get access? Is that what you are saying?
I don't know.
So I go and confirm now. If you have had, then confirm from your source. He will do what?
Good.
Allege. Will do what? Will prove.
Have you been reinstated? Are you back now?
I've told you repeatedly, I've never been removed. There's nothing like impeachment. So I don't know what you are saying. I've said this openly.
Sir.
That everybody, remove, what is it called? Impeachment or whatever, or removing is all democratic and constitutional. But in doing that, to achieve that, you must follow the due process.
Well, he also held a plenary session, we hear, with just 4 members. And
he had to adjourn plenary because NEPA 2, we don't even know if it was IKTC or it was a sabotage.
Yes, the angry members decided to switch. But then again, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has spoken deeply about how this is starting to take away what true democracy means in Nigeria. What do you have to say about this entirety of this drama we're seeing, and just opposing it with what democracy really is?
If you look at the people that are in charge of Nigeria today, from the president to the bottom, these are people that fought for democracy. President Tinubu fought for democracy. President Tinubu was in the trenches, both in Nigeria and abroad, fighting for democracy. And now we have democracy. Now it's the symbol of democracy. And I've not seen where the president made a definitive statement on the crisis in the assembly. I can't remember seeing any. And I was thinking that being the former governor of this state, being the leader of this state, is not the governor as leader, I've told you before. It's the president as a leader, based on the structure. Because of the nature and character of Lagos State politics. In some other states in Nigeria, there's the governor that consummated the ascendancy of the speakers. Even though that is an aberration too, because the governor eventually, ultimately controls the legislature as against the interest of the people of the state. But in this state, it is the president that controls the state. Even when he became president, and he also determines to become the speaker. So now that we are seeing this, you should expect levels of democracy, particularly people in opposition, to cry out that what is going on here? You guys are supposed to be defending democracy, but you are the one trying to truncate it. That is what Atiku is saying. And I think in this instance, Atiku is right to raise eyebrow, to express reservation that what is the president doing about it? And I think this kind of shout coming from the opposition and concerned Nigerians, the president will come out and tell us.
It's long overdue.
It's absolutely. From yesterday, I spoke with a leader, a busy leader in Lagos State. Okay, what is going on now? Have we not passed the stage? I thought that this would have been resolved, that the train must have left the station. And he said, he could not talk. A leader of the state could not talk. I spoke with him on WhatsApp. I could tell him, no, he would not even say a word. But he expressed confidence, that the president will do something about it.
Everything that is happening now has serious consequences, and it could set precedents for our democracy.
Absolutely.
It's very serious business, especially coming from lawmakers who should be held to higher standards.
Yeah.
These are lawmakers, people of the law, and also law enforcement. Yeah. So now let's look at due process and legality.
Correct.
From that video clip we saw, Obasa insists that due process was not followed in his impeachment from a legal standpoint. Number one, do you think his claims have any merits, or is just political maneuver to delegitimize his removal? And then two, the role of law enforcement. They are also held to higher standards. In this last few weeks of this Obasa drama, we've seen law enforcement. They went there when Miranda was sworn in. They arrested some Obasa supporters, put them in the Black Maria when they were singing "On Your Mandate, We Shall Stand." We saw the invasion of the DSS. And then yesterday, we saw the removal who calls the shots? What's the hierarchy? What's the order? I mean, if we turn to the assembly under heavy police presence, does this not set a dangerous precedent where security agencies are forcefully used to override democratic processes?
I think that's two questions. The first one is about due process. And I think Obasa was talking nonsense yesterday when talking about due process. We also saw how he was removed. Allegation of fraud and intimidating members. He was removed by 36 lawmakers. All right? They removed him, and to them, that was constitutional. That was in line with the law. You know, and we all know that legalists takes the vast stage when talking about impeachment in National Assembly. It is the lawmaker that decides who is impeached or not. That is already answered. The second aspect, which should concern me and you, is that our police did not act well yesterday. Early in the morning, we were told that Miranda security aids have been withdrawn. We were also told equally that the police that protect the assembly complex were also told to go. So it was invariably, you know, from the look of things, that the police that opened way and they restored Obasa's security aids. So it was the police, in all definition, that paved the way for Obasa to enter the place. But there was no police protecting the premises. You know, and it's a very bad precedent. People mentioned the case in River State. You know, River State is different entirely. River is different because someone out there, an outsider, very powerful forces, and they were controlling the majority of lawmakers in Rivers. The government only came in with his own loyalists, some lawmakers who are about 4 in number. So it's not the same thing. It's not the same. It's a different entirely. The government of Lagos State is not involved in what is going on in the assembly. The government is just looking helplessly, curiously. The government is not, because as I told you, the nature and character of Lagos State, the government has less say. The government is inconsequential.
So let me ask.
The unfolding drama.
Why is it that we know why you've mentioned why the governor doesn't have a say? Because of course it comes from the top. All right, the president ensures he governs the entire process. But control. Yeah. Okay, fine. What is happening with our security operatives in this entire case? Benga has alluded to that in part of his question. I just need to flesh it up so we can really look at it. Mm-hmm. The police have come out to say, okay, fine, they've reinstated Miranda's security forces or a team. But what could have led to taking them out at the first place? Does it also show that there seems to be some form of argument or disagreement, even with the police force?
No, I think the police only acted in the right way when people cried out, what is going on, what are you doing? The first question is, why was the security people
not at the assembly
that normally enforce security, maintain law and order at the assembly withdrawn in the morning? Why was the security aids of Miranda withdrawn? Why did you restore the security of Obasa at the same time? The statement that the police issued yesterday was very simplistic and nonsensical. It's not convincing. You say you withdraw the security aids of Miranda because you have been auditing. Auditing at that point in time, that's the same day. What a coincidence. It's not convincing. The police will tell us another story. We withdraw the security of the speaker, Miranda, and later vulnerable because you are auditing. You don't audit. Okay, do you remove the security of the government of Lagos State? Someone because you are auditing.
You can't try that.
You cannot do that. So I think the police, what they are saying is half truth. What they are saying is not convincing. I read it 3 times, even this morning.
I mean, but there should be consequences for those sorts of things.
I think it's no ideal. I think it's inimical to our democratic process. I think it's a precedent that is not enviable. That must be stopped. Security police should not be used. If a person had security men yesterday around him, he will not enter that place. And they knew that the members they've adjourned Senadai, not indefinitely. Now when he knew that place was easy for him to enter, there are loopholes. So I think the CPA had a lot of questions to answer.
Now let's talk about, the Assembly has been adjourned indefinitely, and this leads to governance and public perception. They say it's a family affair, but the bigger family is 20 million Lagosians plus that are wondering what is going on. That this power, this ongoing power struggle, what does it mean for governance in Lagos? And is the Assembly still capable of making laws in the best interest of the people that matter the most, the ordinary Lagosians, or has it become a battleground for political survival? Because at the end of the day, it's the taxpayers that put them there in the first place, and they should go about their business, you know, making laws and talking about issues that affect our lives.
You know what is very important and sadly, but Lagos is Nigeria's commercial capital. Nigeria is Nigeria.
It's called the center of excellence.
Lagos is West Africa economic hub.
Economic hub, yeah.
You know, anything that happens here has a ripple effect politically and economically. So the question you raise is very, very cogent and instructive. You know, it's a family affair to the people that are ruling. But the larger family of Lagosians, they are not comfortable. They are disturbed. They are worried that what is going on, who is making law for them. It's an erosion of confidence in our governance. You know, in the way we govern Lagos. But the same party has been ruling this state since 1999. You know, and this same party is now showing to Lagosians that they are not capable of resolving a simple matter. They removed Balumi in this state. Everybody did not fall. Even when Jumbo was governor, Balumi was removed. Gubernur became the speaker. You know, and Gubernur spent many years, more than 10 years. He left.
Mamora also.
When Mamora left, that was when this man came in. Balumi. You know, so there was really a crisis. There was a seamless transition between Ikovoriji and Obasa.
Yeah.
So why is this man insisting to be there?
He said he was impeaching abstention.
What did you know? I told you that's the context that I used, that I stood on started this program. And the context is that the House of Assembly is where the power lies in Lagos. That's the bitter truth. That's the bitter truth. The House of Assembly is where the power lies. You know. So since someone is the one that sponsor or influence the governor to emerge, so there should be a way of checkmating that kind of person. And the disturbing reality that is emanating is that that problem, family problem, the assembly, because the power that be was not consulted before Obasa was removed. Then we had early last week, late last week, early this week, that the political leaders from Osun State, Ogun State, they met and resolved the matter. And the decision was that Merenda should resign. Obasa will go, not come back. But Obasa impeachment will be converted to legislation.
We saw that.
That's what we thought. We are thinking that implicitly the matter has been resolved. Only to wake up yesterday and saw the drama that was playing out at the assembly. So we should be worried. And I think the presidency and the president, they should not allow this thing to continue. It's an embarrassment to them. No, I must tell you. It's an embarrassment to them. And the GAC that was to be the advisory body in this state has been helpless. The GAC have made the president.
Because it seems no one is even listening to them.
And I don't think Obasa will remain in that place. That place will work. The lawmakers will not allow him to come back. It's so easy. These lawmakers are in charge of the legislature.
Because even yesterday, they did, one of them did speak and said,
No, they were speaking on their behalf.
On their behalf,
They were there.
Yes.
After his remarks, they all shouted, Obasa, no, Obasa. You see, I don't know why it's difficult for them to resolve this thing. I want this man to let go.
But Obasa said that he doesn't have anything against, he said they're his colleagues.
Brothers and sisters.
There's brothers and sisters. I mean, they're friends. Doesn't have anything against them. But all he's asking for is that due process must be followed.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning that, let's
He was impeached in
interpret it.
absentia.
Yes, that's what it simply means. I was impeached in absentia. If I'm back to the House, let me return to my seat. As the Speaker, which he did yesterday, he said indirectly, I mean, the Speaker is back. The King is back to take his crown. However, if you need to remove me, then let's do it all over again, maybe using proper due process. But where do you see this playing out? Where do you see it leading to?
Thanks for your preamble. I'm a bit disturbed. Because if eventually the matter is resolved in a family way, many things must have been destroyed in the process. The confidence of Nigerians, the confidence of particularly Lagosians would have been eroded and destroyed. It should have been resolved before now. I don't think why it's difficult to call Obasa to order. Obasa is just a floor member. He's just first among equal. What he was saying yesterday, that they are not fighting. Simplistic. We are not children. We're just playing with words. You know, we all know what he was talking, where he said, where he was heading to. So I think eventually, reason will prevail. Reason will prevail. I don't see him coming back. The lawmakers will not capitulate. They will capitulate in allowing the to go to resolve the crisis. Give or take can be a zero-sum game. It will be give or take. But at the same time, Obasa has made himself to be a casualty of this whole process. He cannot write his own history. That is the first time the kind of thing is happening in Lagos State.
But I mean, the confidence of him to do that. I don't think he's
not a rural state or fallen state. This is a consequential state.
No, but the confidence.
And this man took close to his hand, aided by the police, and entered the house.
I mean, does
everybody out in darkness?
In darkness.
That's to show that
In
yes,
darkness.
But does that not tell you or infer that there might be powers behind the scenes for him to take such a drastic decision in a state like Lagos State? I don't think. Do you think he was acting in his own capacity, or he's getting assurance from some power broker somewhere that says, "Go, don't worry, we have your back."
In a paper, national newspaper, that I'm loyal to Tinubu, but I'm not acting on his behalf. I'm loyal to him, not acting for him. The other was, yes, Baba is my political father. But this time around, I'm acting on myself.
Okay.
But there's no way I will take that step yesterday. There's no way police will allow him, will aid him. He was aided by the police to enter the house without the backing, without the order from the top. That is just my opinion. There's no way people are pulling the strings.
So where does this lead us with his court case? Recall that
they asked him yesterday,
yes,
are you not in court?
He said,
I'm a lawyer. You are not partisan, but you can ask my lawyers. So this man is
at one point he actually denied it.
Before that, the man is very crude, very conventional. And the way he speaks, he should be a speaker of Lagos Assembly. He should be eloquent enough. He should be articulate to marshal his point, to convince Lagosians why he's taking those actions. But very few people were convinced.
Yeah, and he was very dodgy in his answers to journalists yesterday.
If he was truly a Democrat, a lawmaker, and not a lawbreaker, he should have waited for the court to make a ruling or a judgment, not taking the action he took yesterday. But people that are aiding him, people that are supporting him, telling him to do this, they're not helping him. They're destroying democracy in this country. And what they are doing is setting a precedent. And it's unfortunate.
Well, talking of the impact of this, we've mentioned the ripple effect this would have, ripple effect on especially the economic capital, which happens to be Lagos, the way people would be looking at it, the way other political parties would be also watching very closely. Do you see any chance of maybe coming to a conclusion that Obasa may have to maybe stay possibly a bit longer before he's left, because according to him, the GAC met over the weekend, and it was agreed, Miranda agreed to step down, and that was what he said just yesterday, meaning that if she steps down, he may have to continue until they find a suitable candidate that would indeed take that position. Do you see this just being left that way? And what's the, sorry to add, just to add, and what's the way forward for Right Honorable, Mojisola Miranda, if this happens?
I don't see, based on my understanding and readings in Lagos politics, and particularly the House of Assembly, you see, the power that be are also mindful of the effect of any action they are taking. The power that be are also mindful of the consequences that the actions we have in both the politics and economy of the state. I don't think they want to allow Obasa to stay. You know what we saw yesterday. Even if they want to allow him to stay, what happened yesterday will affect the way they think, the action he will take. And you see, I see the president coming out either today or tomorrow to make a definitive statement on this.
You think so?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Yes, I'm telling you
what?
To tell this man to go.
I'm going to hold you to your word.
Yes, I'm telling you.
If the president comes out to speak, we will ensure that we have you back here.
He will not speak, but the statement. I'm telling you.
Yeah, whichever way.
Because we won't allow them to go to face thing like that. It's wrong. It's not only wrong, it's disturbing and annoying.
And embarrassing too.
And embarrassing. What an arrogance.
So when do we expect the lawmakers to get back to their...
No, they've signed off, sin and die. And don't forget that.
But you can't have
Lagos is
forever and ever.
It's a semi-Muslim state.
Okay,
we are starting fasting tomorrow. So that place, for the next 30 days, if you expect that place will be dry.
So that means Obasa can go in anytime he wants.
No, he'll be fasting.
Obasa is not doing what he's doing. He's just trying to be a rascal. Exhibiting.
Maybe Ramadan will calm him down.
Exhibiting what is not right, So whether he's there or not does not even matter. But if you look at what he said yesterday, the spokesperson of the House yesterday, what he said was very instructive. That the leaders should act immediately. The leaders should not take them for a ride. The leaders should not take them for granted.
Very instructive.
Yes. So what he said is very, very important. And I think the leaders are also watching. I think ABC as a body and the president as a person will act decisively on this matter within the next 48 hours.
We'll keep watching. We'll
keep watching. Hopefully, something will come out of this one. But I want to thank you so much for your explanation. And you've been following the House. You've written about the House. You followed it closely, like you said, for 7 years.
It's very dear to you.
It's very dear to you. We can tell the way you feel.
And that to Lagosians. Because you see, what the legislature is messed up. We are messed up. Because the legislature is made up of our representatives.
Yes.
We elected them to be there. And in democracy, the legislature controls the purse, but the executive controls the sword. They execute. So that's why the first casualty of any interregnum, of any military coup, is the legislature.
Yeah.
The first body that was set up in America after the independence was secured from Britain was Congress. That's the first body that was set up. So legislation is very, very key. And we should be concerned that the place is not messed up. It's not desecrated by the actions of people like Obasa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bimona, for breaking this down. Well, it's a conversation that we know it's a developing story. It simply means that there'll be more updates to follow. Maybe Right Honorables Obasa and Miranda will be granting more interviews and would be speaking. But just to wrap it up, I mean, Miranda, Right Honorable Mojisola Miranda, seems to be very soft at heart. We did see videos of her crying. Many have said she's not able to take the heat, so she might as well throw in the towel. And I think that's what Obasa said, that she did throw in that towel.
It's not for her to throw in the towel. It's for the people that are supporting her to capitulate. Once she's not seeing them at her back, she will capitulate. But so far, she's been holding forth because those guys are supporting her. And yesterday, that thing was also demonstrated.
Do you think they will support her for that long?
No, what I'm saying is that if there is an agreement that Obasa will not come back, you will go to secure the state based on the character and nature of the state. If that is not there, they will step down. But the character of Lagos State presupposes that they don't own their political future. It's tied somewhere. So they have to be very careful of that. And the most circumspect any decisions they are taking. If it were other states, they will fight to the end, and nothing will happen. But this is Lagos State.
And things are done differently. Okay. Thank you very much once again, Mr. Habib Auna. And we hope that in the spirit of Ramadan, the belligerents or the parties that are, causing a ruckus will sheath their swords and let peace reign and let the legislators get back to the business of making laws and also discussing the issues that matter for the well-being of Lagosians. My name is Benga Bora. Thanks for being a part of today's broadcast. See you next week.